Hello, my name is Steve Quirin. I'm the creator of the File Child Project Man Spacecraft Design concept. And I am going to continue on with my File Child Project Model. So the number is on the scale. Scale 1 equals 1 foot 1 inch. Right now the outer ring hall is 4. It's to group, oops, that's not what I do. I want to do that. It's to group these guys here. So I originally planned for this hall, for this model version, to be 1,000 feet long, 100 feet deep, and 200 feet wide. Okay, you're missing an outer ring, so which one are you? Open up. $180 interior. Okay. Okay, I did interior and interior. Okay. So I need to do an exterior. Yeah. Copy. Move. 180. Rename. These equivalents because this is a positive number, so I'm going to use the negative numbers. Interior goes into exterior. Do that. Wait. No, I do not. Wait. Okay, let's do this to make sure that I don't actually highlight stuff. Yes. Thousand one, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Come on. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Yep. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. And then you're going to get that. That was 1, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. 1001, okay. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Come on. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. What the hell? 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. There we go. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1002. Okay, these two, it's 415, 460 out of that alignment. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 1002. 1001, 240. $1,001, $1,002. There you go. Which one it tells you? The princess. $1,001, $1,002. $1,001, $1,002. $1,001, $1,002. $1,001, $1,002. $1,001, $1,002. I'm giving Tezzy some attention right now. This is not a job. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not being commissioned for this. This is me, myself, and I. So I'm not in any particular rush to make the flower chalk project a thing happening. I've been on Facebook since 2011 talking about the flower chalk project. And other outer space issues. In 2015 and 2014 I was introduced to Blender. Then between 2015 and 2018, I was creating Blender objects for my flower chalk project, and I created a Kern's Laboratory QLab Facebook page to talk about the flower chalk project. And I did not get any hits. I had 11 friends, and nobody exhibited any interest in the flower chalk project or any of the other science and technology issues that I posted on the Kern's Laboratory QLab Facebook page. So and I am being sidetracked from what I'm going to do. My original plan was to continue on with the outer ring generation, but going to negative 500. But because I found an error with the rings, this set of rings, I am fixing that error. So Yeah. This is the last of the Tezzies. The cats that I've named Tezupes. She's like number 5, number 6, number 7. I think number 6 or number 7. I think of all the Tezzy, she is the most Tezzy. Tezzy Zupez was originally a high elf character for the AD&D game system. And and is representative of the half elf that I encountered in one of my dream worlds back in my high school years. Tezupes is a half sibling to the high elf AD&D character Latizota. And Latizota was also part of that same dream world that I encountered Tezupes. They were siblings living together and hiding from the humans, and I happened to find them by accident. And I spent some time with them, and within the dream world. Last of the elves on Earth. So I had a cat named Latizota. Latizota is actually a feminine name. And my high elf character was a male character. And Tezupes, my high elf character, half elf, was also a male character. That was before I started actually designing female RPG characters. Okay, so that's done. And Latizota attained level 5, and Tezupes attained level 3. And, Latizota was a fighter magic user thief. Tezupes was a fighter thief. Hey. Nope. There. So now copy, move to -10, and they were group RPG characters. Oops, no. Okay, delete that. Rename. Back in high 83, 84, 85 time range, 83. I think the campaign was between 83 and 84. I don't know how long that lasted. The group, that was a huge group. We had like 12 to 20 players in that campaign group. It was huge. And most people were using, at that time, the people I RPG'd with was using AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, their Gear Guide X First Edition. The version of AD&D before the second AD&D Second Edition came out. That was a scam. But and so the first, what was known as the First Edition, was first published in 1974, and the books that I got purchased was had copyright dates of 1981 through 1986 or 88. 86 ones in Victoria, and then I bought some more in San Antonio. So sometime between 86 and 89 was the last of the AD&D First Edition game books that I purchased. So what's going on here? I'm somewhat distracted. Okay, you've been moved, so I need to rename you. I gotta watch my thumb. I've been touching my rear finger when I've been doing this, has been touching the screen a lot. That has been happening a lot lately, and I need to be wary of that. Oh, I forgot the colon. Unless I use the X accidentally. Let's check that out. Inside goes the outside. Exterior. Okay. Copy. -20. And so in 1980, I graduated from high school. I graduated from 8th grade and went up to Wisconsin. I'm a third generation Wisconsinite. And actually a third generation Kenoshan. And my mom's family, actually my dad's family is up in northern Wisconsin. And my mom's family was, at that time, in Kenosha. And back in those days, there was 50-mile distance between Kenosha and Chicago. And 75 miles between Kenosha and Milwaukee. Kenosha was halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee. These days, Kenosha is a suburb of Chicago. So, but as I'm so back in 1980, we went up to Wisconsin, my brother and I, for summer. And we missed Gen Con by 2 or 3 days. Between 1 and 3 days. And Gen Con is in Lake Geneva, which is towards Wausau. Yeah. It's inland and towards the Wausau area. It's in the southern Wisconsin, near the border, maybe 100 miles or so, 200 miles off north of the border. And so we stopped. Grandma was talking about the Renaissance people, and they had a Renaissance festival and stuff over there in Lake Geneva. And interior, exterior. And we missed that by a couple of days. So she drove Tom and I, my brother and I, to Lake Geneva to the Renaissance Festival, and it was already gone. And then so we stopped by a comic book gaming store there, and we bought she bought us Dungeons and Dragons Basic Rules, which is known as the Red Book Rules. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do. I'm being distracted. That. Oh, okay, wait a minute. So, and it was in a box set. You had some dice in there. El Cheapo dice. We came back from Wisconsin. And Mom promised my brother and I that she would game master us. We were, and we were, and that never happened. And then in 1982, my brother and I got tired of waiting for Mom to game master us, and we got she had cut out the Game Master section from the Red Book Rules. What is this? No. That. Oh! and that itself was a miracle and a half, because she kept it in her purse for 2 years, and things get in mom's purse get lost. Are you part of the center or not? You are not. Okay. Yes. Wait. Nope. I need to test things out here. Okay. Who are you? Okay, that's 10, next 20. Okay. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That is incorrect. Okay, so we gotta move you. And we gotta rename you. So, so my brother and I started solo playing with each other with Red Book rules. And 1983, some of his friends, he was talking to his friends, I guess, about the D&D, and one of his friends came over to play D&D with us, and he brought in the Fire Lord, the African Fire Lord god from the AD&D game system. And okay, interior goes in exterior. And after a while, my brother and I got bored with his god character killing everything, and we're just sitting around. And so we decided to walk to his fire or and kill ourselves. And and he walked away laughing, you know. And then we got involved in group play with that huge group of AD&D players. And so my no, lots is always not that. In that group play, I had a different character, Kamikaze Harakiri. He was a monk from the Oriental Adventures rule book. No, not 83. The Oriental Adventures didn't come out until 85. So I was using the monk character from the Player's Handbook, the 1983 monk. And then he eventually got killed. I was dabbling. I had the Dungeon Master Guides, the Player's Handbook, I acquired the Fiend March Manual, Fiend Foil, and March Manual 2. And between 1983 and 1985. And I was trying to do my own dungeon. I was creating additional characters, and I was solo playing with the Red Book rules. And I was learning about AD&D with D&D. I was learning about D&D with AD&D. So, about face. So, there we go. And then in 1980, so I did, then that, I guess, because my character died, I stopped playing with that group. And 84, I got involved with another group who was part of the original, that 12-20 game group, and did a game with them. And that's when I created Zoda and Tezuzupets. And Zoda got up to level 5. And then I decided to switch to Tezuzupets, and he got up to level 3. And then that play group ended. And I was doing solo gaming and stuff by myself. I was creating in 1984, I created the Ancient Earth campaign, which is the AD&D campaign, and I created a Queen War campaign, which is the Dungeons and Dragons campaign, the Red Book rules. And actually, they are parallel worlds to each other, basically. I was using the Cornrow D&D campaign, organizing the monster. I was creating Game Master reference materials for myself in terms of monster levels, alignments, and I was categorizing the monsters based on plant life forms, animal life forms, intelligent life forms, and magical life forms, and and trying to do that. And then and what I had in Victoria, I bought in '83. I bought the expert rules for the Red Book rules that I got in 1980. Then in '85, they redid the basic rules, and I bought the entire set. So, this is all before the Flower Child project came into being. And so the idea was for the Ancient Earth campaign and the Corn War campaign was to play test, was to create the Earth history from creation to the Gunpowder Age. The Gunpowder Age starting, and well, gunpowders were introduced in Europe in 800 AD when some explorers, traders, went from Europe to China and snuck gunpowder out of China. And then around 1000 AD, firearms started became present on the military battlefields as based on regulars owning firearms and bringing firearms to the battlefield with them, and then you had some mercenary units, individuals. This is back in 1000 AD. You had mercenary individuals within mercenary units that also had black powder arms. This is back in the days of blunderbusses, where the firing mechanism was a wick, and you use a wick to light up the flash pan and to spark off the powder that was inside the barrel. So, and then the black powder technology got better. The black powder weaponry got better, and then in 1390 AD, Emperor Augustus created the first regular black powder unit. And cannons were also being introduced. The first primitive cannons, the hand cannons and the artillery cannons were coming in line, and the flintlocks were coming online at that time. But the cannon technology was very primitive. And so the 1400s, so this is the time he had full plate armor. So we're wearing full plate armor, and they were getting all bullet holes and cannon ball holes and armors. And it was like, how do you stop this? And tournaments were a thing. You had professional tournament competitors in the 1300s, 1400s, and 1500s. And the tournament armor started getting specialized, so that and were so specialized that they were not practical field combat armor. And so that's the black powder age. So by the time the Engineer's Guide, and there's, what's the other one? I got the books. I'm not going to get them. The Wilderness Guide. There might be a third one. The Adventurer's Guide or something. There's the Wilderness Guide, and then there's the Engineer's Guide. Okay, there's the Wilderness Guide, and there's the Engineer's Guide. They came after the Oriental Adventures. So, I want to get the Deities and Demigods book, which is the Legends of Lore. I got the Legends of Lore, which is a revised version of the Deities and Demigods. Christians were like all up in arms about that, the title of that, and featuring the deities. But the Deities and Demigods have African mythology in there, and Legends of Lore does not. So I want to get the Deities and Demigods to have that. And so you have different mythologies, Greek mythologies, Viking mythology. There's various different mythologies within the Legends of Norse and Deities and Demigods that are representative of real life mythologies. And so I'm using those for representing, as part of the campaign, setting up a campaign mode setting for the Ancient Earth campaign and for the Clone War campaign. But that kind of fell to the wayside because when I moved to San Antonio in '86, the yeah, just really distracted here. Magic and religion, religion and magic, and science and technology are opposite sides of the same coin. So in my high school year of 1984 through '85, I started bringing AD&D stuff to the school, and I failed 2 classes. Then I took summer school, and I got my collegiate degree. What the hell? Oh, no, 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 no. Crap, Ola. Oh, no, that's not it. Where are you? Wait a minute. Did I not move you? Okay, where are you? Okay, you are -20. Okay, so that's okay. That is the center point. Okay, so that's 20. What happened to that? I'll probably crop up again somewhere in the future. Do something or find something later. Okay. So, copy that. Move to -30. I may have accidentally deleted. Oh, I deleted something. Oh, I deleted it? Okay. Yeah. Rename it. -30. So, let's see here. I brought D&D to school. I failed 2 classes. I've never failed in my entire life. I never made a final grade of an F. I did make A's and F's in all my classes in each grade period. But the final grade was either between A and D. Most of my grades were in the BC range. So, so I passed the, okay. And then we go to exterior. So I end up passing high school. I got the high school degree. And in my senior year, I began my hardcore RPG year, and I started creating my Cold War campaign and my Ancient Earth campaign. And I was studying military history and military technology at that time too. Well, I did that throughout 8th grade. From 8th grade through 12th grade, I studied military technology and military history. So I am familiar with the evolution of Earth-human warfare from the Stone Age to the present day. Land, air, sea, outer space. Although outer space is more in the realm of science fiction, and so interior goes into exterior. So yeah, nope, that's not what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So then in 85, okay, so in 1985, my brother and I wanted to get into outer space science fiction, and we looked for a game system that allowed us to create custom design our own spaceships. And the game system that the only game system we could find was Traver Science Fiction Adventures in the Far Future, which was copyrighted in 1980. And so we got that, and I started creating spaceships with that, and the system, the ship design rule system, basically emphasized a singular propulsion system to propel the spaceships a singular propulsion system for interplanetary space flight, and then a singular propulsion system for interstellar space flight. And I grew up on Star Trek and the original series from 1st grade through 12th grade. I watched that every week, religiously. Not really, it was 20 times. When I didn't watch Star Trek, for various reasons. But, like one of them would be like the Camelot mini series was showing. That was the musical back in the 1980s. Comedy musical. That was very good. Interior. So, I really liked the Star Trek starships as a high schooler, thinking about spacecraft designs. Because for me, I didn't understand, at that time I didn't understand that the nacelles both nacelles were generated the work field. I didn't understand that principle. I looked at the probably more, I'm yawning. I was looking at the nacelles as being like individual engines, like on twin engine bombers, World War II bombers, and on twin engine airliners. So, and at that time, this is 84, 85. At that time, well, actually 85, 86. Well, actually more 85, 86. More 85 than 86. I was thinking that for colonization, you're going to need to have multiple, for interplanetary spaceflight, not colonization, interplanetary spaceflight, you're going to need to have multiple drive systems using the Traveler RPG terminology. Instead of one drive system, you're going to need to have multiple drive systems to propel the spacecraft for interplanetary spaceflight. So I decided with the Traveler that I used the 400-ton free trader, because the 400-ton free trader allowed to have 2 turrets, one dorsal, one ventral, based on the World War II medium bombers designs. And so I decided to start making starship designs with multiple drive systems instead of a singular drive system. And I created what I call the multi-drive rules. And at this time, the creator of the Traveler had created the supplement. What was it? They created, I forget. I got it. The High Guard. No, wait a minute. I bought a Traveler board game system. The Zonta Highlight. Okay, Zonta Highlight. Okay, that's the Zonta board game. The High Guard Ooh, was there a guard in there? Yeah, the high guard, the Roborg high guard was in there, and they changed the ship design rules and stuff. And you had weapons bays, and you had turrets, and you had fixed guns. So yeah, there's a lot of different changes prior to that. But so, but with the 1980 rules, my revision to the 1980s was a multi-drive system, and I need to rename that. Wait a minute. Move it. -30. Amen. Oh, wait a minute. Move it to -40. Yeah. No, I meant to do that one. What? Oh, they're doing math on me again? Wait a minute. Ten, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, you did the math on me. Do that. Nope. Fuck it. I'm not gonna mess with that. So, exterior, copy. Move to -40. Interior. Okay, I'm just. Ooh. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, rename. So let's see here. So while I was creating the, so I created a multi-drive system rules. For the Traveler game 1980 Traveler system, and I was created the spaceship Star Child using Fronton Hall, and which is modeled off of the World War II medium bombers, A-20 Havoc, the B-25 Mitchell, the A-25 Invader, and B-26 Marauder. Minus 40. And, okay, interior goes into exterior. Nope. Copy, move, -50. Rename that. And so then what my Mach drive system did was based on drive A, tonnage of the different drive systems. You got Gravity had drive A, drive B, drive C, drive D, and jump drive, the maneuver drive, and then you had power plants, and each had they had volume and tonnage. The tonnage was based on the Traveler used a metric system, so it was what, 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters by 3 meters. Equals 1 ton of helium, approximately. Copy that, move that, -50. So, so what I did was, based on the tonnages, for 2 jump drives, 2 Type A jump drives had the same tonnage as 1 Type B jump drive. So with a 400-ton free trader, 1 Type B jump drive would be, actually a Type B jump drive was 15 tons, and Type A jump drive was 10 tons. And a Type C jump drive was 30 tons. No. Yeah, 30. Wait, how did that go? Was equal to Type B, which was, 10, 15, 10 tons, and and then you had 30 tons for jump drive C, I believe. No, 10, 20, 30, sorry. Type B was 20 tons. It's the maneuver drives that were freaky. 4 Type A's. A Type A was 1 ton. A Type B power plant was 4 tons. Type C was 7 tons. So if you want to have what I did was, you have a Type A power plant operating 1 Type A drive. You had 2 Type A power plants powering one type A power plant to power one type A jump drive. It has a second type A power plant to power up a second type A jump drive. Therefore, you would have, with two type A jump drives, you would have capability of one type B jump drive. Now, if you wanted to use type A power plants to power up a one type B jump drive, you need to have 4 type A power plants, because you need a type B power plant to power up a type B jump drive, and a type B power plant was 4 tons. So you need 4 type A's to power up a type B jump drive. So that's the theory that I was run under, and so it was more. So you had the flower child basically had 2 nacelles. One nacelle with a type A maneuver drive, type A power plant, and type A jump drive, which means when it comes to the power plants was 4, 7, 15. The power plants were really nasty. On the I forget the tables, but so you have a type. So with the 400-ton free trader, you have with 2 nacelles. Each nacelle had 1 type A power plant, 1 type A maneuver drive, and 1 type A jump drive. So you had a total of 2 type A maneuver drives, 2 type A power plants, and 2 type A jump drives. Each jump drive and each power plant and each the maneuver drive and power plant share the same fuel. So with the what you get is the fuel efficiency of the type A for one power plant, one jump fuel, was jump 1, and because the power plants and the maneuver drives were also 1s, so you had the tonnage of fuel for one system, and then the wing. So the power plant on the port side nacelle would have the port side wing supply, and then the starboard nacelle had its fuel systems for the starboard side wing. And the spacecraft had maneuverability of and type 1 maneuver 1 capability and jump 2 capability, and you can do 1 jump 2 and would be out of fuel. That's the theory that I was using for the multi-drive systems. And then for the you have to have for the computers, you need to have a multi-drive computer program to operate the system. So you didn't just need a type 2 warp drive, you needed a type 2 you needed a maneuver drive system that allowed you to operate 2 drive systems. So I created a multi-drive computer programs for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 engines. But within the Traveler game system, ABs was the only practical thing. I gotta rename you. The High Guard ship design rules was a lot more efficient. Oops. But so while doing that, while I was tweaking out the rules and modifying the ship, trying to modify the ship designs with the rules, that reawakened my desire for real life spacecraft designs. What does real life spacecraft look like? What would and so based from working with the Star Child series of Traveler fictional spaceships, the Star Child is the original Flower Child spacecraft. I decided to the Star Child was named after the 1970s Flower Children, like the Flower Child project. But as an RPGer, I knew that warfare and the games that I've been involved in was all about combat. RPGing was all about combat. This is before video games became Mortal Kombat, Kung Fu Champions, Capcom's, Street Fighters, the Super Marvel Superheroes. I'm thinking Capcom Marvel Superheroes video game. Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter became a thing. And so the 1980s RPGers, the group that I played with were called what we were referred to as hackers slashers. Hack and slash games. Open the door, kill the Mars, and take the treasure. That is pretty much what first-person shooters are about. Just killing everything in sight. Not much actual role-playing is going on. Role-playing involving character interaction with NPCs, and now player interaction was guys screwing each other over. My players stealing shit from my characters and jacking me up and stuff like that. But they were doing that in high school anyways. So, let's see, wait a minute. Let's do one more. Copy, move, -60. So the play group, the 20-player play group, consisted of kids in high school who were brain fucking me in high school. Oops. Come on. You named that 60? And they were not actual friends, they were just RPG companions. None of them were my friends. My high school friends, the people that I refer to as high school friends were 8th grade friends. Were friends back in 8th grade. and they did not get involved with RPG because the type of people that were doing the RPGs. And this thing was, yeah, you're right, but I love RPG, so you know, come on. So that's how the flower chart project came about. So I was thinking, so from the travel rules, redesigning the rules. Oh man, okay, rename that and redesigning the Star Child spaceship. What does a real life what would a real life starship look like? What would a real life, you know, what would what Starship Enterprise, the Star Trek Starship Enterprise would look like in real life? First of all, it would not be in a stellar spaceship because FTL technology does not exist. So, and that actually predated the Flower Child project. And okay, let's see, outer ring objects. Oh, let's try another one. Let's see how bad is bad. Copy, move, -70. So, so from the actual history is from the Star Child, the Traveler RPG fictional Star Child, to me writing a letter concerning Starship Enterprise, what a real life Starship Enterprise is, to the Flower Child project back in 1985 and 86. It was referred to as my man spacecraft design concept. Nope. For the next generation of Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo spacecraft designs. Or sometimes I use the term 1985 concept. Sometimes, there's variations in that I was using between 1985 and 1992. In 1992, I had a one-year membership with Planetary Society and got hold of University of Nebraska about the Capsule 009, Apollo Capsule 009, and that's what led to the... Nope, come on. Me naming my manned space officially naming my manned spacecraft design concept as the Flower Child project. Then in 2011, in 2011, I had acquired a Facebook account, and in 2014, 2015, 2016 time period. Actually, I think sometime, then in 2014, my brother introduced me to Blender 3D, and then in 2015, I was using Blender 3D to experiment with my 2004 presentation folder drawings. And in 2015, in 2016, I came to the realization that the 2004 presentation folder formatting needed to be updated. And inside goes into interior. Come on, 1001. Yeah, okay, and then we go that. Okay, 6 drawings. Okay. And so that's when I started working on the, come on, the 2004 presentation folder. Not the 2000, the Flower Child Project presentation for year 2020 AD. And so in 1990 to 1993, I got stuff from NASA that helped me realize how faulty my original concept was in terms of the flower child. But the, okay. The issue isn't how flawed my original concept was. The issue of the Flower Child project is what's it going to take, what's the science and technology needed to create an interstellar spacecraft design. And that, back in 1985 and 86, that meant an outer space only spacecraft design. And you can say that the Apollo CSM is an outer space only spacecraft design. And it's an orbital spacecraft design. So you wanted a spacecraft design that goes from planet to planet. That's an orbit to orbit only spacecraft design. So I started using the term orbit to orbit only for the Flower Child project spacecraft designs, which is an outer space only spacecraft design. You have to be able to ship in Earth's orbit, then, feel it, and goes from Earth to Mars and back to Earth again. And it stays in Earth, it goes to Mars, stays in Mars orbit, and then returns back to Earth and stays in Earth's orbit. It never enters the atmosphere. Rename that. So that's why I use the term orbit to orbit only spacecraft designs for my Flower Child project. It's different from the transorbit translunar orbital only, outer space only, spacecraft design. And your model, this your model hall, is representative of how big of a spacecraft you want to make. Is you want to establish a permanent human civilization on Mars. Because the Mars Direct 1.0 that Buzz Aldrin advertised in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, is not going to work for civilian colonization. It's good for taking astronauts and cosmonauts and radionauts to Mars, but it's not, establishing a temporary research base on Mars, but standing up in a permanent civilian colony on Mars. It's not going to work. It does not have the volume necessary to accomplish that. And you're going to want to have, and Mars Direct 1.0, it was a 3-man crew. A 3-man crew for lunar missions is okay. A 3-man crew for Mars missions is not. So, okay, interior goes into exterior. Hide. So, I wrote a letter about that. And name that. And then they changed the Mars, from Mars 1.0 to Mars 2.0, which was a 7-man crew, I believe. Or larger. Exterior, copy, move. But yeah, 90, come on, 90. That was me, not my eye. Rename. Okay, interior goes into exterior. So, the purpose of the Flower Child project is to research the science and technology that is needed to make a manned spacecraft design that is comparable to this monstrosity that I'm designing right now. This monstrosity that's known as your model is not the objective of these spacecraft design. Most of your spacecraft programs, which is the Flower Child project, is not a spacecraft program. It's a spacecraft project. It's not Project Apollo, Project Mercury, Project no. It's not, the Project Apollo is a Apollo spacecraft program. No, it's named differently because the Mercury program the Gemini program and the Apollo program were all part of the lunar program project to get to Earth, to land American astronauts on the moon before the USSR does. So that it's a project. The Flower Child project features various different spacecraft designs or various different spacecraft programs, but you have the static design spacecraft program. You got the Earth orbital spacecraft program. You got the Earth lunar spacecraft program. You got the Earth Mars spacecraft program. And each of those programs would have a spacecraft series devoted to outer space research, and you have a spacecraft series that's devoted to outer space tourism. So the static program is the Flower Child of the 2004 presentation folder. The Earth orbital program, the Earth Child series, would be basically a civilian tourism program, because NASA, ESA, and them already did all their scientific research stuff for a while. For the Earth orbital spaceflight. Now, what the Earth orbital spaceflight would do is test out the Flower Child technologies for the Lunar Child series. So the Earth Child series would test out equipment for creating the Lunar Child series. And the Lunar Child series would have outer space research programs, spacecraft designs, and you have outer space tourism spacecraft designs. So the Earth, and then so now you can have the Earth Lunar spacecraft, Earth Child series could have Earth orbital spacecraft that NASA and ESA may be interested in, whatever, for their. But the Earth Child series is a research center for the Earth Lunar program. The Earth Lunar program is a research and development test bed for the Mars Child series program. And the Mars Child series would have scientific research spacecraft designs and would have the outer space tourism spacecraft designs. And you would have the Mars colonization spacecraft series designs too. Would be in part of that. And the lunar colonization program would be under the Lunar Child series. And creating a space station, spaceport space station, and a maintenance space station would be under the would be utilized by the Earth Child series, pretty much like the way the STS was used for creating the ISS. The Flower Child project does not really concern itself with the transorbital spacecraft designs. The Flower Child project does not concern itself with space station designs. Those are separate programs, space programs, that are independent of that the Flower Child project requires to be functional, but they operate independently of the Flower Child project. If the Flower Child project doesn't exist, the spaceport space station, the maintaining space station, and the the research space station would still be operating and stuff. But the Flower Child project envisions having all 3 space stations function at the same time, while the Flower Child does its spacecraft program. So, and we're upside down. So now we are at 100. Nope. Oh, we got to copy it. Copy it, move. Nope. That was on me. No, that was whatever. I don't know what happened there. That was a targeting situation. And I wasn't looking at what I was doing when that happened. Okay, now we go there. Exterior. Copy, move. Rename. Interior goes into exterior. Hide the interior. So we are at 1 hour and 48 minutes. Copy, move, 110, rename, so the Flower Child project is basically dead in the water right now. I'm just messing around with the concepts. It's dead in the Flower Child project is dead in water because I do not have a computer system. I don't have a computer printer system for which to work on my project. I need a 3D CAD application. Like a 3D version of AutoCAD to work on the Flower Child project. Okay. I experimented with Blender 3D to see if that would work, and Blender 3D is a European product and British, and they were all like, Americans don't know jack because they don't go Europe, they don't use the metric system. Everything's simpler with the metric system. Yeah, mathematics is simpler with the metric system. Oh. I'm being distracted here. And but the problem is, and this goes, this decision I made back in 1984 and 1985. When I was doing the Traveler game system, and I was looking at, and after I graduated from high school. I was doing college stuff. The metric system became more and more important and in my life, and I was looking at that, and I'm saying interior goes to exterior, and so I spent some time. Nope, that's, and so I said, okay, what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And I grew up with the metric system since 1975, 1972, 1975, since elementary school. So I'm not, I'm not clueless about the metric system, but I don't see things in metric. I see things in American English. I see pounds. I see ounces. I see inches. I see feet. I see yards. In high school, I saw yards. Feet and miles. Okay, that's what I relate to. I'm 60 years old. So what I saw in the 1984-85 was that the metric system the smallest measurement you could get on a metric system that I could measure as a British commoner terminology, as an American British commoner, British commoner America, commoner and American commoner, which is basically a British commoner. As American civilian, that's comparable to a British commoner. Let's put it that way. The smallest measure I can accurately measure is 1 millimeter. With the American English system, I can measure 1/36 of an inch with accuracy. Our rulers can measure 1/36 of an inch. On top of that, you go to copy, move, large measurements like miles. I ran track in 8th grade. In high school, my heart specialist, I had a congenital heart murmur that I've known about since I was 3 years old. So even at age 5, I knew that with a congenital heart murmur, because W.C. Fields and the older Hollywood stars of the during the 1960s were dying from lung cancer, heart failures, heart attacks, because they were smokers, cigarette smokers. And they were alcoholics, cigarette smokers and alcoholics. So I knew, okay, wait a minute. Okay. So as a 5-year-old, so at, you know, I was 3 years old when Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong walked on Luna. And so the so at that time, I understood that when I get to be 50 years old, 60 years old, I'm not going to be athletic. I'm not going to, be able to do things that Bruce Lee did, like Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Sammy Davis Jr. I wouldn't be able to do stuff that they were doing. Jerry Lewis was doing, Bob Hope was doing at that time. The physicalities, the Lauren Hardy, Harold Lloyd, okay. When I get to be 50, that's out of the picture. So I was a breech birth kid, so I had problems learning how to walk and learning how to ride a bike and learning how to run. And so running was very difficult for me. So I learned at a late age how to run. And when prior to that, I was crawling all the time. So I was 3 years old, crawling all over the place. And I was fast. And I was still crawling in first grade. And I was doing it for recreation purposes. But I was fast. And then when I was in first grade, I learned how to run really well. And I ran faster than I could crawl, so I stopped crawling. But, I really needed to run really fast. But like I said, and so my athletic day, and so I ran. I love to run. So in 8th grade in track, I started out with as a shot putter. That I dropped out because physical strength was not my thing. Not really. I did the high jump. I kind of fell out of that because there's only so high I could go. And long jump, I kind of quit because I'm not interested in doing this. I was a pretty good long jumper. And so I ended up doing nothing but running. And I ran everything. 50-yard dash, 100 dashes, low hurdles, high hurdles, 2-mile runs, 1-mile runs, 220s, 440s, then I did the relays. So, and like, do a race, rest for half hour, and I'm ready to go again. I could do that all day. Run a 2-mile run, give me a half hour, maybe 45 minutes rest. I'm ready to do a 50-yard dash. Yeah, I was the Energizer Bunny back in 8th grade. 2, 4, I can do one more. But then when I got into high school, my heart specialist says, for you to do high school athletics, I recommend that you have a heart catheterization test. There's a small chance of death to occur, and it's very expensive. And my parents said, nope. And so I ended up taking PE all 4 years. Okay, I got, get out of there. I said there. Okay, what am I playing with? 130, okay. So yeah, I chose, now in ninth grade, oops, negative 30. So in ninth grade, I only had one semester. You had to have PE and health class, and there was you had a half semester of elective. I was in band at that time, and I took something else in eighth grade. Oh, I took drafting. I had a so, but in 11th grade, 10th through 12th grade, PE was a half semester elective, and I took PE as a full year elective in 10th through 12th grade, and exterior, and I ended up breaking some gym class records that had been set many years, like 5 or 6 years. And so I broke in 10th grade, I broke the record. In 11th grade, I broke my record. And then 12th grade, some other kid broke my record. But that was because I was being bullied and copy. And the kids that want. Um, oh crap, come on, behave. Sucks. There. Stupid shit. Copy. Move. Negative 130. Oops. Name that. So. High school traffic. Okay. So. I studied military history as a hobby from 8th grade through 12th grade. I started RPGing in 1982. I became hardcore in 1984. Due to my RPGing activities, because of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon, when I was 3 years old, I became an aerospace science fiction fan. At that time, what the? Oh, I said -10. Interior goes into exterior. I'll hide that. Okay. Move that. -130.123. That ain't happening. Oh, 140. I need to go 140. Oops. Come on. 0.123 to get... What? Let me move this over here. Get that in there. What? What's going on here? Oh. It's all good. Okay. F it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Okay. One. Let's get rid of this out. Two. Three. 4. 5. So, back in the days that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on Luna, I do not like calling the moon because I back in 84, 85, I started using the term Luna for the moon. And 84, 85 was a big year for me. My writing style was the writing style that I use nowadays was began in 1984, 1985 time frame. And so, and it's been evolving. It's still evolving. Let's see here. Interior. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. That's 140. Rename. Oh. Rename it. Oh, really? I'm really distracted today. Come on. That was a targeting issue. I was looking over here and pressing over there. Let's see here. Okay, that. Interior. Wait, where's the interior? Copy that. Move it to 140. Minus 140. Name it. So, back in the day when Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong was walking on Luna, because of the Apollo 11 mission, I became an aerospace science. Oh, we gotta hide that. Not that one. Interior goes to the exterior. So, and then hide that. Nope, come on. Hide that. Nope, come on. That's why you don't have objects next to the list. So I became an aerospace science fiction when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon when I was 3 years old. My favorite Martian was his last season. Or Lost in Space was in its last season. And so during my elementary school years, elementary school years, first, second, and third grade, Jupiter, the Jupiter 2, Space, was on my list of spacecraft designs that I was thinking about. But when I moved to Wisconsin in fourth grade, I kind of forgot about Jupiter 2. Okay. Interior, copy, move 150. So I've been thinking about, since I was 3 years old, I've always been fantasizing about, what do I want in spacecraft design? And like I said, I watched Star Trek, the original series, from first grade through 12th grade, 1972 through 1985, basically. And then in 1985, I also watched Doctor Who during that time period, but Doctor Who time frame was basically out of my reach for the most part. But I was familiar with all four Doctors, the first four Doctors. So, I double tapped that by accident. Copy. So in 1984, 1985, I started watching Doctor. No, come on. I said X. And I kind of got bored of watching the original series because I've seen everything 20 times already, basically. And it was like, okay, I'm bored with this. And Doctor Who, I was able to see on a regular basis. And so I started watching Doctor Who. The TARDIS is caught my, well, I thought about the TARDIS as spacecraft design. But Doctor Who, when it comes to spacecraft designs, that has no, does not really have any inspiration. Okay, was not, for me, Doctor Who was about time travel, and the first four Doctors are the Bible on time travel, as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm a Whovian for that reason. I also consider myself a Whovian because if I had to choose between RPG and a Star Trek universe, or find it within a, if I had to live in within a real life if the Star Trek universe was real and a Doctor Who universe was real, if I had a choice between the two, I'd rather choose Doctor Who because I can have my own spaceship. You know, the promise of outer space tourism, this, visiting other planets, visiting other time frames. That was, the promise of going where no man has gone before within the Star Trek universe. It was a lie. So, but Star Trek, the issues that was brought up in Star Trek concerning manned space flight, concerning, outer space encounters, interstellar body encounters, which the Flower Child Project deals with. Star Trek, was there. Star Trek, Star Trek's everywhere on the Flower Child Project, and in that aspect. Doctor Who is basically time travel. The new Who is piece of crap. Timey-wimey bullshit. None of it really matters. Type, and so 60. Let's get out of that. I'm going to yeah, oh, okay, 130, 140. Get all that. Get all that. I said no. Okay, we're good. Move it. Okay. Rename it. So, and also back in 85, 86, I had some dreams where I was talking with, I traveled with Tom's Baker doctor a few times, and I really got ticked off with him, and he really didn't want me flying with him because I got ticked off with it, but run away from monsters, it's like, no, get that, get out of there, undo that, okay. Rename. So, because Doctor Who is sci-fi horror at its core. Now, the New Who's comedy was prior to Jodie Foster and this black guy. I don't know if he's still there or not. Doctor Who was, they disguised Doctor Who's sci-fi horror with comedy. For example, the episode Let's Kill Hitler episode was really, really funny. But you can do so much. You can go anytime, anywhere. You can go to any place, any universe, at any time period in the universe. You can explore the dinosaur age. You could, explore American West. You can explore the, the Zulu, the Zulu Wars. You could have gone anywhere, anything. And comedy, you could do, Doctor Who could have outed science fiction better what Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek did. Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek outed outer space science fiction from the outer space science fiction is a subgenre of science fiction, which is a subgenre of horror. When Gene Roddenberry was creating Star Trek, Doctor Who maintained that status. Outer space science fiction is horror, is a subgenre of science fiction, and science fiction is a subgenre of horror. That's where Doctor Who is. And I was, so the dreams I had with Tom Baker and kind of was all about that bullshit. And so that was but yeah, the new timey-wimey bullshit storylines, whatever. Space. Get in there. Get in there. There we go. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I touched the L by accident. Interior goes into exterior. Touch the text instead of box. Hide the interior. So by the time I graduated high school in 85, class of 85, survive 85, closed campus. Alright, Victoria High was open campus until my class became seniors. Then we had closed campus, and so I'm alive in 85. That's me. Okay. 170. So by the time I graduated from high school, and science fiction, I still was thinking about spacecraft designs and stuff, but for the most part it was like, fantasy bullshit. It's all fantasy bullshit. Then when I started working on the Traveler Star Child series, with the, what the what's going on here? That's good. That's good. Okay. Okay. I kind of, so I was like, okay, this is just, what does real, so it was, this is all bullshit, thinking about, man space, but I grew up, the first, from elementary school, during my preteen years, I grew up watching documentaries about the space race. So I had one foot in the door in terms of real life. I watched Carl Sagan's Cosmos. Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos is a remake of Carl Sagan's. So, and so for me, it was like, okay, when I start, it just reawakened what, the working on Star Child reawakened my, and okay. So that's how I became involved in the reawakened the Traveler rules, reawakened my interest in real-life spacecraft designs, basically. They're working on using the, what? Crike. They're all interiors. delete, delete, distractions, copy, move, rename. So this is, and so when I was on Facebook doing the flower chart, when I did Blender 3D, I created spacecraft designs using Blender 3D. So you know, I did my own version of the Colonial Viper. I did the my own version of the Space 1999 Eagle class. Space, when it comes to science fiction, spacecraft, during throughout my life until I did the Blender 3D, the Eagle class was my #1 favorite. Interior goes into exterior. So hide the interior. 2.4 180. And we're still going at 233. Make sure I'm not just blabbing away on a dead camera. I think I got 4 hours on this thing now. I'm just gonna do this until I'm bored making rings. Oh, rename that. So it's going on 2 hours, so I can do this for another 2 hours, hour and a half. Ow. That's one way of doing it. Exterior, yeah, that's the one. Copy, move. So I'm real. Okay? This flower chart project is real. It's a real discussion about real life spacecraft designs. And it has always been about real life spacecraft designs. What does it take for real life Earth humans to get to Mars? Everybody's talking about what kind of resources we need to have on Mars. What kind of shelters do we need on Mars? You know, how realistic is that? And it's like, how are you going to get there? What does that spacecraft look like? You know? How big is big? And even when I grew up listening to Buzz Aldrin, Wernher von Braun, NASA personnel talking about Carl Sagan and their ilk, talking about you got a spaceship, you want to go really fast, you put a big engine on it, you put some fuel so it can last longer. You know, now you got some fuel, it's not going to go so fast because there's so much fuel, so you put a bigger engine on it. Now you got, you know, that's not going to so far, and so you're going to create eventually you're going to create a spacecraft that's too big to fly. You're in a cycle in which is this. So the question I ask is, how big is big? How big is too big to fly? How big is big? And I've been asking that since my high school years. So 190. And when I started thinking about colony spaceships and real life technologies and stuff, after doing the the Traveler Star Child spacecraft design, is like, okay, this is unrealistic. This is unrealistic. Um, the so the spaceship, the Traveler Star Child spaceship design, it was unrealistic. It was obviously unrealistic. So, what would a realistic spaceship look like? What would a realistic spaceship that can travel, you know, you know, and the first the first question was, what would it, I was either I still was a high school senior, or I had just graduated from high school. I'm not sure, in that time frame, 3 to 6 months after I graduated from high school, or so, within 6 months of graduating from high school, and being a high school senior, I wrote a letter saying, what would a modern day, what would a starship the Star Trek starship look like using modern day technologies? And first thing is, it ain't a starship. Elon Musk's spaceship is not a starship, even though he calls it a starship. It's not capable of interstellar travel, therefore it's not a starship. Okay. Sorry, but I am a stickler for etymologies. Oops. Oh, crike. Yes, I want to do that. And I want to move you out of the way. On 40. Come on. Yeah, framework. Framework. Actually, frame objects. So Generation Tech, Sacred Cow, Shipyards, Space Dock, well, Generation Tech deals with sci-fi. Sacred Cow, they deal with sci-fi spacecraft. They don't. They talk about real-life space in terms of science fiction spacecraft. They don't. They're not really into real-life spacecraft designs the way I am. Okay. So, and same. That's what happened with Facebook. Nobody cared about what I was doing on Facebook in terms of the Flower Child project, except for the 1970s retro Flower Child project group. And I have no beef with them, but there is no comparison because my Flower Child project is all capitals. Okay, 100% capitals. Has always been that way since inception back in 1992. And that's based on the Apollo program and Soyuz, and they're all capitals. So my Flower Child manned spacecraft design concept has always been all capitals. The only reason I use the manned spacecraft design concept on the Flower Child is because the 1970s Flower Child, the 1970s Flower Child retro Flower Child project, and I have no beef with them. Now apparently they're a Christian group versus a Hindu or Buddhist group, or some of the 1970s children were Buddhists or adopted Buddhism and Hinduism, but whatever. And we are at 2:45. Negative 200. I'm a Flower Child wannabe. Too young to be part of the scene, but old enough to remember. My parents were not in that group because my mom's family was military, and they've been military since the American Civil War, Wisconsin regulars. So my mom's grandfather, he was a tough hombre during World War One and got mustard gassed. And my mom's father was severely colorblind. So he was a desk sergeant throughout World War II. He was stationed in Hawaii during the Pearl Harbor attack. So hide that. Okay. $210. So yeah, I ruffled their feathers a lot. My great grandfather, my grandfather. I'm I'm confused here. Delete that. Name that. So, yeah, that was the fall chart I wanted to be. Peace and love. I am against outer space warfare. I do think about it. I have designs, spacecraft designs for outer space warfare. That was meant to be. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Move. Copy. Move. Rename. Hollering. Okay. Oh, crap. Okay. So, yeah, that's good. Uh, 210. So wait, no. Is that two? Yes, 210. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna just let it go at that. It's too much of a headache to try and get it right. It's not that critical. Okay. After I'm gonna end this video after this set, which is 254. Copy, move 220, negative 220, 20, rename, 123, negative 220, negative 220, okay, that's that. Oh, wait a minute. 210 interior needs to go into exterior. Hide the interior. I said hide the interior. I'm hitting the box, dudes. Exterior, negative 220. Copy. Yeah, I'm getting. Interior goes into exterior. Hide the interior. 2, 3. Okay, I got 3 more. And then I'm done. Interior, copy. 230. Oops. We got the interior ready. 230 minus 230. Yep. Rename it. Unique. Got the spacing dudes. Oh, and then you got to do the hyphen. Yeah, I'm getting too tired for this. Copy, move. And that's not being sidetracked without a conversation either. Okay, rename. This I've been doing all night on this video. Interior goes into exterior, 1001. Two more to go. Copy, just run 240. Minus 240, I don't have to do the spacing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus. Okay. Exterior. Copy. Move. Negative 240. 40. Rename. 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta do spacing. I said 0. I hit 9s a lot. I'm not trying to hit zeros. Then I'm trying to hit 9s or hitting 8s and stuff. So that is very common. I gotta watch what I'm doing. People can do things faster than what I can. And then on top of that, they have hot bars. Blender 3D does that a lot. Is very huge because you can do the numbers like I'm doing, but you also have menus. You can click on a menu and then drop down, select, and then okay. I do the drop down menus, but you also have hot buttons, hot button, yeah, that's what you call them, hotkeys. You have hotkeys, and you program certain keys to do certain things. And then if you're in one mode, there's one thing in a different mode. The other key might do something else. And so you just press and then GUI. They don't do sometimes they do numbers. Usually they don't do numbers. They just click and drag, and then they're done. And so they go real fast. And it's like, okay, you're so slow. Yes, I am, and I don't mind it. Oh, get out of there. And this is getting 2, 4, 5. I'm hitting this box here. I'm hitting this box, and this is getting lighted. And so I got to go over here by the arrow. Yeah, trying to hit this box and end up. I don't know. Yeah. You see, and yeah, I hit the box. Wait. No, dead zone's coming in. I got dead zones on my fingers. That's kicking in. Copy 260. Nope, 250. 50. Rename. Minus 250. Put the hyphen in. Exterior. Copy. Move to 250. Negative 250. Rename. 3 minus 250. Dimension spacing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. Okay, and interior goes into exterior. Interior goes to exterior. It's 1001. I gotta do 1001. Otherwise, it won't happen. Okay. 246. Now put these into the 1001. Frame objects. Yes. Group order, yep. No, get out of there. 1001. Yeah. So the next video would finish up these. I have 25 more to go. I gotta go to negative 500 to complete this framing, this outer frame project. Nope. And the only one to do that is you gotta click on there. You can activate that on, and so and I have no complaints about that. That's a good feature, actually. So that's halfway there. Wait a minute. Hello. Oops, wrong direction. So I do the rings. Then I got to do the spars. So on the spars, I'm going to do the center line and then 10 feet. So there are 200. So negative 100 be the sides. I mean, yeah. Positive 100, negative 100, I think that's what it is. Would be on the complete sides. So, and then the others, 0 being the center line. And then 10, so then the other 10 stringers, the 9 stringers in between, gotta go on the top and on the bottom. They're going to be angled at some point, at some angle. Bottom wall. And so that's it for this video session. And it is 3:06.